Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to show you how to make some simple snow bases using huge miniatures textured paste. Initially, I tested this scheme out on my direwolf from Warmachine Mark IV. So today we're going to do it for the Great Bear Heavy Warjag. So I'll have all the supplies and tools that we use tonight listed down below. To begin with, we'll need some cork. You can get these at your hobby store in sheets or as cork tiles at Home Depot. They make great rock and debris. Most importantly, we'll need our supplies from Huge Miniatures. First up is the texture paste for the snow. This stuff applies perfectly to the base, can be done in big clumps, really enjoy it. Next we have the stone texture paste. This goes over the cork to make it look more like rock. And then to blend everything together, we have the weather powder, pure white. It really helps blend in the model to the snow. Because you got these big hunking monsters walking through snow, they're going to have snow powder residue on them. Then we have our paints for weathering the rock. Any paints will work. I just had these handy nearby. The matte black is my go-to for painting the base rim. Ash gray, matte white. Then your other tools. Couple paint brushes. This is to paint the rock and to apply the weathering powder. And then some sculpting tools. This is to put the actual texture paste down, help mold it, shift it around, make it look like more natural clumps. And lastly, we need some super glue. This is to glue down the cork to the base as well as the miniature to the base. Our first step is to create rocks using the cork. Now this is a very tedious process, so I basically am just speeding past this. You tear off your little cork, move the miniature around a little bit, try to figure out a good balance that doesn't take away from the model yet accentuates the model, if that makes any sense. Our next step will be taking the stone texture paste and applying it to both sets of rocks that we created. This will help the cork have a more natural, stony look. When applying the stone texture base, one thing I like to do is not smooth it out completely. The clumps will make a texture like they're smaller little rocks attached to this bigger pile. Once the texture paste has had a chance to dry, we go in with some Gray Lord Gray to just base the entire rock formations. This speed paint has become my go-to for stonework, as well as covering up metal. Alright, once that's had a chance to dry, we'll go in with some ash gray to dry brush across it. Again, with those clumps adding that additional texture, it really gives these piles more of a natural look. Lastly, we'll add a little matte white to the ash gray just to give one more level of highlight. Now, it may be silly to go through all this additional work when we're going to cover most of this up with the texture paste and weathering powder, but we like the little attention to detail. Last step is decide which way we want the model on the base, and we just super glue it down. Now for the real fun part, adding the snow texture paste to the entire base of the model. This is kind of messy, but fun. All right, taking our sculpting tool, we just put a big old glob on, shift it around, covering the feet. Now, side note, if you're using any sort of first generation speed paints, the snow paste will reactivate the paint. Learned that the hard way on the first model. Looks like yellow snow. There are no dogs on this model. We don't need yellow snow. But I digress. Just keep adding it, shifting it around until it looks how you feel snow would naturally look. Be sure to put it over the feet, over the rock, maybe add a little bit more up the leg. For this particular model, it's a giant mech marching through a snowy wasteland. It's going to have snow on it. Alright, on to the weathering powder. I'm wearing glove here not due to the weathering powder itself, but because the way the material is, they recommend applying it to a wet varnish. So off camera, I'm using an airbrush to apply some matte varnish. On camera, just filling that brush up with the weathering powder, pushing it in so that it gets into all the little nooks and crannies, really covering the leg up. Something I found out the hard way when using an airbrush, it does blow a lot of it off. So this process will take 2, 3, I think I actually did 4 coats of the weathering powder. So one thing I also did was I applied the weathering powder to his shield. I figured such a massive hulking thing, he's probably dragging it along with him in the snow. And finally, painting the base rim matte black. This is probably the most satisfying part of any miniature job, as it signifies it is done. Now, depending on your model scheme, some people will do different color base rims. I think black just makes it pop. Between the red, the metallics, and the white snow, black just is the answer. And here are both bases side by side. Honestly, I need to give a big thank you to Huge Miniatures. This basing material, weathering powder, is just fantastic. To have the opportunity to use them, to show everyone here how great they are, cannot thank them enough. If you have any questions about how I did everything, or you have an idea for other videos, please comment below. Also, if you would like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. I know it's annoying hearing that in every video, but it really helps us, especially small channels like us. We've also started up a Patreon, which is in its very, very early infancy stages. But anyways, until next time, keep your dice warm. Happy gaming.